Every summer, Bermuda hosts an unofficial competition. Who can look most dignified while sweating through formal socks and sipping rum like it's a diplomatic requirement? The shorts are crisp, the knees are exposed, and the socks, always knee-high, make a defiant case for colonial pageantry in 30-degree heat. Somewhere between British afternoon tea and mopeds zipping along coral roads, the island perfected the paradox of tropical decorum. This is an island where pink sand beaches glow at sunset, the sea looks digitally enhanced, and the local cocktails have their own biographies. A dark and stormy isn't just a drink, it's a navigational warning, a weather update, and a political stance, depending on how strong the ginger beer is. The breeze carries hints of sunscreen, rum-soaked citrus, and the quiet hum of air conditioners attempting diplomacy with the tropics. And if the breeze doesn't tip you off, the roofs might, white, stepped, and gleaming like frosted terraces, each one catching rain, bouncing heat, and doubling as Bermuda's unofficial weather forecast. But even paradise has punchlines. This is, after all, the tip of the Bermuda Triangle, a place where navigation goes to take a long nap. Some locals chalk it up to magnetism. Others point to wayward compasses, bad charts, or overly enthusiastic Gombi dancers performing too close to the helm. Once upon a reef, islanders even lured ships in deliberately, inviting them to crash just offshore, then throwing suspiciously well-catered salvage parties. Bermuda isn't in the Caribbean, and doesn't pretend to be. Its rhythms are slower, stranger, and spiked with dry humor. You'll find more golf courses here than anywhere else per square mile. Yet the national holiday revolves around a cricket match so emotionally charged, it requires a cooling-off period. There are pastel houses, mopeds, one-car rules, and rumors that helmet hair has started more marital disputes than bad hotel plumbing. And always, there's rum, sometimes smuggled in champagne bottles, always served with ceremony. And then there's the quiet. Not silence exactly, but a particular hush that descends in late afternoon, just as the sun begins to caramelize the rooftops and the kites. Yes, even the kites retreat into their folds. It's the sound of a place bracing not for drama, but for dusk. A collective breath, shared between limestone walls and the sea. Children finish their last games barefoot on soft lawns. Grandparents squint toward the horizon, measuring the light by instinct. Somewhere, a moped sighs its last journey for the day. The rhythm here is not dictated by clocks, but by casual ceremony, whether it's the stir of a swizzle, the flutter of a drying towel, or the satisfying clink of ice in a glass that's already begun to sweat. This is the kind of place your travel agent forgot to mention, where the maps curl at the edges and the sunsets might be watching you. Welcome to Sleepy Journeys Around the World, a gentle, globe-trotting wander through the most curious corners of the earth. I'm Jack, your narrating guide to the geographically improbable, culturally delightful, and occasionally hallucinatory. Tonight, we drift somewhere real, but not quite ordinary, where white roofs glisten in the sun, cricket matches become national holidays, and local kindness is as much a part of the landscape as the limestone itself. So, pull the covers high, let the waves or winds lull you low, and prepare to float softly through the world's most bizarrely relaxing destinations. And just before we fully drift off, if you're enjoying Sleepy Journeys, Go ahead and tap follow or subscribe on whatever platform you're joining me on. That way, you won't miss any of our upcoming sleepy adventures. And let me know in the comments where in the world you're listening from and what time it is there. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us. Now, take a deep breath. Let the tension float away like a paper lantern on foreign waters, and let's begin. There is a moment, often around 4:17 p.m., when the horizon shifts just slightly, enough for locals to declare it dark and stormy time. The drink is less about thirst and more about atmospheric alignment. 1 part Black Seal rum, 1 part ginger beer, and a squeeze of lime so casual it might as well be an afterthought, unless you garnish, which is hotly debated. Garnish suggests performance. No garnish implies quiet confidence. And if someone adds a cherry, they're a tourist. The Dark and Stormy isn't simply Bermuda's national cocktail, it's a maritime mood ring. Locals claim you can taste the coming weather in your first sip. Too sweet, a squall is near. Too spicy, hurricanes. Balanced, you're safe, until cup match at least. It is a drink with texture and lore. The rum must be poured last, allowed to float ominously like a thundercloud atop the golden fizz of ginger beer. Swizzle it, and you risk disturbing the forecast. Leave it be, and the tension itself becomes part of the ritual. In Hamilton's narrow lanes, you'll find generations of bartenders perfecting the pour like it's a rite of passage. Some swear by crushed ice, others by spheres. One elderly barman claims the correct proportion can quiet a quarrel or rouse a marriage, and while no official guide exists, unwritten rules govern when and where to sip. By the water, after 4, facing west. At some hotel lounges, you're not handed a room key before you've accepted a tumbler of dark, fizzin' welcome. The ice is always chunkier than expected, as if daring you to take it slow. And the bartenders, more meteorologists than mixologists, will often glance out the window and adjust your pour accordingly. To decline a dark and stormy is not rude, but it is notable. A quiet act of defiance. To accept is to partake in something older than a menu, something whispered between the bar stools and the breaking waves. It is tradition. It is a weather report. It is initiation. All stirred, but never shaken. Bermuda doesn't ease visitors in, it marinates them. The descent into island time begins somewhere between immigration and the first rum-laced sigh. At the airport, customs officers are cordial, efficient, and quietly sympathetic to the uninitiated traveler who packed for the Caribbean and arrived to find British decorum in a tropical disguise. The first local you meet might be wearing a mop of post-helmet hair, shorts pressed with military precision, and a rum swizzle as steady as a moral compass. Orientation happens not through maps, but menus, where the cocktails have names that sound like warnings, and the drinks come with unsolicited advice. Even the accommodations seem complicit in the hazy welcome. White roofs reflect the midday sun with polite aggression. Bed linens are overstarched and over-perfumed, as if trying to outdo each other in crispness. The minibars are curated with the seriousness of museum exhibits. Some have rum bottles older than the staff. You'll find teacups the size of small helmets and room service menus written with the gentle wit of a retired headmaster. At some guest houses, the staff seem to have psychic timing, appearing just as you wonder whether there's ice, and vanishing again like linen-clad specters. There's no rush to check in. You're invited to pause, sip, and forget what you were planning to ask. And then there are the mopeds. You'll see them parked in strange angles near beaches, outside pink-painted cottages, and near roadside food trucks that sell fried fish in paper wrappings too greasy to be trusted near a passport. The riders, equally eclectic. Some wear blazers, others flip-flops. All of them somehow glide, as if carried by island breeze in vague directions. To be welcomed in Bermuda is to be disoriented gently. You arrive thinking you're on vacation. You soon discover you've been enlisted into a slow-motion pageant, equal parts colonial hospitality, tropical charm, and a touch of rum fog theater. You can't talk about Bermuda without someone bringing up the triangle, as if the island were merely a corner of a three-sided conspiracy theory. But ask a local, and they'll say the triangle isn't cursed, it's just misunderstood. Weather moves faster here. The seas shift moods like a jazz playlist. And old maritime navigation relied on tools with the same precision as a suspicious fortune cookie. Yes, planes and ships have vanished. But so have umbrellas, beach towels, and several pairs of sunglasses. Some stories blame sudden squalls. Others cite compass anomalies. A few involve pirates and an unfortunate case of mistaken reef identity. Locals treat the lore with affectionate skepticism. They've heard the theories, aliens, portals, even time slips, but they'll tell you the real danger is trying to outdrink a Category 2 hurricane, or trusting your phone's GPS after a rum swizzle. The ocean around Bermuda is clear enough to see your doubts and blue enough to distract you from them. The reefs lurk close to shore, sharp and ancient, responsible for more wrecks than most island museums can catalog. Shipwrecks here aren't grim, they're curated. Some of the best diving spots in the world are accidents waiting to be rediscovered. Even the fish seem to nod at the irony. One theory among locals is that the Bermuda Triangle is simply a metaphorical Bermuda itself, misunderstood, magnetic, and stubbornly off-script. It doesn't help that the island's own geography defies neat explanation. A narrow crescent of volcanic limestone, perched alone in the Atlantic, behaving as though it's both sovereign and a daydream. From a plane, Bermuda looks like punctuation, an M- between continents. From a boat, it appears too late, emerging suddenly, surrounded by reefs with the tact of a forgotten RSVP. And from within, it simply feels like you've slipped into a time zone measured not in hours, but in head tilts and tide shifts. Bermuda's geography doesn't want to lose you. It just wants you to slow down, squint a little, and maybe reconsider the itinerary. Cartographers approach Bermuda the way cats approach bathtubs, with suspicion, reluctance, and a creeping sense that they've forgotten something. For centuries, the island has appeared in the wrong place, at the wrong scale, or not at all. Early maps showed it as a smudge, a reef, or a politely omitted hazard. This might be because Bermuda doesn't quite behave like land. It pops out of the ocean like a punctuation mark in an otherwise smooth paragraph of sea. It's both closer to North Carolina than the Caribbean, and farther from reality than most GPS systems are prepared to admit. Even modern satellites seem to squint when trying to render its coastlines. Sometimes they forget half a golf course or assign the same tree to 3 different locations. Local maps are more suggestive than precise. Directions are poetic rather than positional. Turn left between the yellow and blue houses, or follow the road until the sea feels different. A map might show a path, but whether that path still exists or ever existed is a matter of philosophical debate. Visitors soon learn to navigate using instinct, rumor, and the wind. And even that isn't foolproof. One strong gust, and suddenly you're at a kite festival instead of the post office. A left turn might deliver you to an onion patch you didn't mean to find. A straight path becomes circular, like the island is playfully nudging your plans sideways. This geographic resistance isn't accidental. Bermuda wants you to wander. It offers alternate routes not to confuse, but to deepen. A detour here might bring you past a hidden beach. A missed turn might land you at a roadside cassava pie stand manned by someone who speaks only in cricket metaphors. There are no wrong ways to get anywhere in Bermuda, just more interesting ones. The streets rarely move in straight lines. Many are so narrow, they seem designed by people who had only heard of cars secondhand. Signposts are few and far between, often replaced by instinct and gentle shrugs. And yet, no one really gets lost. Because in Bermuda, getting lost is the itinerary. To say Bermuda has a complicated relationship with weather is like saying the sea is a bit wet. Storms arrive with flair and leave behind folklore. But instead of bracing for impact, the locals often respond with pageantry, parties, and something that vaguely resembles engineering. Enter the non-mariner's race, a nautical event designed not to honor the sea, but to antagonize it. The rules are unclear, the vessels are unseaworthy by design, and the crowd enthusiasm is inversely proportional to flotation success. Some boats resemble failed bake sales, others, conceptual art pieces held together by duct tape and bravado. It's not about finishing. It's about floating longer than your neighbor. About being remembered for sinking with style. Umbrellas become sails. Inflatable flamingos are repurposed as rudders. And someone always tries to install a barbecue mid-voyage. No one recommends it, but everyone applauds. The non-mariner's race is the kind of event that would give insurance agents nightmares. It's a gentle chaos, sanctioned by tradition and soaked in satire. Boats have been fashioned from bathtubs, picnic tables, and one unforgettable attempt involving inflated yoga balls. There are prizes for fastest sink, loudest crew, and most unnecessary costume. One year, someone entered a vessel shaped like a rum bottle. It capsized instantly to standing ovation. The beach transforms into a living cartoon. Pop-up bars appear with suspicious speed. Grills sizzle beside conch shell towers. Children build sandcastles next to adults building character. Locals set up elaborate tents with names like SS. Probably not, or ship happens. There are chants, cheers, and collective gasps when something wobbly manages to stay upright longer than physics suggests it should. Bermuda treats the sea not with reverence, but with rapport. The ocean is not an enemy, but a sparring partner. And on this one wild day, the island answers the Atlantic's power with cardboard, comedy, and courage. This is Bermuda's spirit, equal parts resilience and revelry. The weather may come for you, but you'll greet it with a costume, a cooler, and something suspiciously fizzy in a thermos. In Bermuda, the forecast is less a warning and more a social cue. A drop in barometric pressure can rearrange your weekend faster than a wedding invitation. Rain delays tennis, but not cricket. A northwesterly gust might cancel ferry service and simultaneously encourage spontaneous picnics on the South Shore. Locals don't just talk about weather, they narrate it. Storms are given nicknames. Breezes are rated for their ability to ruin hairstyles or lift laundry. You'll often hear someone say, "It's a two-kite day," or "That sky looks like it owes us an apology." And while, yes, the drinks are legendary, so too is the culture of adaptation. Golf continues in light drizzle. Kite flying peaks near gales. There's even an etiquette for complimenting someone's ability to sprint for cover while holding a rum swizzle without spillage. Weather is an unscheduled participant in every plan. School uniforms come with an optional windbreaker and a contingency prayer. Church services have been paused mid-hymn for an unexpected breeze strong enough to disrupt soprano notes. It's said that if you can plan a wedding here without revising your outdoor seating chart, you've either bribed the forecast or married someone who did. The island's relationship with climate is more than practical. It's almost poetic, as locals still trust the curious motion of shark oil in a bottle to predict a squall. Even the mopeds seem to hesitate when rain is near, engines humming in silent debate. And yet, people adjust. Shoes are swapped for sandals kept in office drawers. Beach towels double as windbreaks. Umbrellas are loaned freely and returned eventually. It's an island logic that understands nature as both choreographer and co-conspirator. Weather isn't just survived in Bermuda. It's studied, styled, adapted to, and occasionally outwitted. Often with grace. Always with snacks. Time moves differently in Bermuda. Not slower exactly, more sideways. Like it got distracted by the view and forgot where it was headed. Meetings stretch, sunsets linger, and naps have their own gravitational pull. Afternoon rest is not a requirement, but it's heavily implied. You'll see hammocks hanging between bougainvillea and palm trees, their owners nowhere in sight. Not because they're lost, but because they've temporarily abandoned urgency. The island's quiet corners, the back patio of a pastel guest house, a park bench facing turquoise shallows, invite pause. Locals have perfected the art of just a minute, which can mean anything from a few seconds to the rest of the afternoon. It's not laziness. It's spatial mindfulness. A commitment to letting the moment breathe. The siesta in Bermuda is more than sleep. It's an art of absence, a conscious uncoupling from schedules. You might find someone staring into space from a veranda, as if auditioning for a perfume commercial. Others recline beneath sea grapes with books they never open. Children slow their games into murmured strategy sessions. Dogs nap with theatrical flair. And when the breeze shifts just right, whispering through the palms with that practiced hush, it's hard not to believe that time, too, has curled up for a nap. In Bermuda, sleep isn't stolen. It's shared. Sleep comes differently on an island with turquoise at its edges and ginger on its breath. Nights in Bermuda carry the scent of sea air braided with sun lotion and crushed lime, a mix that somehow makes even insomnia feel luxurious. Tourists often report unusually vivid dreams of parades that never end, of lighthouses that hum, of being gently scolded by grandmothers for not reapplying sunscreen. It's not spiritual. It's atmospheric. A side effect of too much leisure, or not quite enough guilt about it. There's a kind of dreaming here that feels scheduled, like the island itself puts out a sign, closed for inspiration. And if you find yourself awake at 3 a.m., it's not loneliness. It's just the air reminding you to breathe differently. The line between memory and metaphor blurs quickly on the island. A nap on a beach lounger might morph into a dream of swimming through clouds shaped like sargassum. A quiet morning walk turns cinematic in hindsight. The world tilts ever so slightly toward reverie. Kite flying at Easter becomes a sort of lucid metaphor. High above the cliffs and cricket fields, kites cartwheel in silence, painting the wind with childhood, geometry, and unresolved intentions. Everyone swears they're just for fun, but you'll notice the serious faces, the strategic launches, the small nods exchanged like coded encouragements. Some say the dreams here are shaped by limestone and coral, the way the land holds light, the way the waves echo your thoughts. It's a dreaming not of escape, but of expansion. The kind that doesn't end when you wake, but lingers in your bones like salt. Bermuda doesn't just allow for dreaming. It creates room for it. The kind of dreaming that doesn't resolve, that unpacks itself slowly, like a suitcase you didn't know you brought. It begins with cricket, but it never ends there. Cup match in Bermuda is less a sports event and more a cultural exhale. 2 days of public holiday wrapped around a deeply emotional cricket match, a splash of rivalry, and a full-body celebration of island identity. The entire island splits in half. Somerset versus St. George's. Families divide loyalties, workplaces decorate in defiance, and even mopeds wear team colors. There are cheers, jeers, and the kind of playful tension that only exists when history, pride, and rum converge under a summer sun. Cricket itself moves at a pace that rivals tectonic plates. Overs unfold like novels. The ball's flight is a slow-motion metaphor. Spectators lean back in folding chairs, sipping swizzles and debating strategy with the same intensity usually reserved for high-stakes diplomacy. Kids dart barefoot between tents. Vendors hawk fish sandwiches with hot sauce that doubles as performance art. But Cup Match is more than sport. It's Emancipation Day. It's Mary Prince Day. It's a reckoning with history, celebrated in music, rhythm, and the very act of taking the day off. It's Crown and Anchor played under palm trees. It's gospel blending into reggae. It's that rare kind of holiday where the calendar pauses and everyone forgets to check their phone. Each year, traditions return like old friends. There's the unofficial contest for best tent decor, complete with streamers, hammocks, and even portable chandeliers. Coolers are packed like treasure chests. The line between picnic and performance art blurs. Elders sit regally in folding chairs, recounting past victories with the same seriousness as political speeches. Teenagers flirt with competitive swagger, tossing cricket terms like coded poetry. The game itself weaves into the fabric of the day. Even those who don't follow the sport can feel the stakes. Commentators call plays with theatrical flair. A single run can cause a tent to erupt in joy or sigh in practiced heartbreak. Yet, through it all, the mood remains celebratory, never bitter, like watching a family feud acted out in linen and laughter. Some say the island changes tempo during cup match. Roads feel different. The breeze carries more laughter. Even the ocean seems to lean in closer, curious to hear the score. The days stretch, each hour drawn out like the innings it surrounds. In the end, someone wins. Someone loses. But no one really cares. The only scoreboard that matters is how many laughs were shared, how much curried goat was eaten, and how often you forgot what time it was. Bermuda is the only place in the world where your knees can make a political statement. Not by kneeling, but by being precisely and proudly visible. Bermuda shorts, paired with knee-high socks, have transcended clothing and crossed into cultural declaration. They are office attire, ceremonial wear, tourist bait, and, occasionally, the subject of serious marital disputes. Walk into any bank, government office, or formal event on the island, and you're likely to find smartly dressed professionals in pastel shorts, crisply ironed and cut with military precision. Above the knee, unacceptable. Below the knee, sloppy. Exactly the knee? Now you're in uniform. This sartorial strangeness has deep roots. Originating from British military dress codes adapted for tropical outposts, the Bermuda short became a badge of refined rebellion. An act of colonial adaptation turned national uniform. Locals treat the lengthened fabric with quiet seriousness. There are opinions about pleats. There are feuds over cuff width. There are unspoken rules about sock shades. And don't be fooled. This isn't a gimmick. It's a uniform with expectations. At some offices, ties are optional, but socks are non-negotiable. Weddings have been paused over footwear inconsistencies. One judge once reportedly delayed proceedings until a bailiff fetched an appropriate belt. But beneath the starch and ceremonial formality lies a sense of humor. Tourists trying to imitate the look often go awry, pairing neon board shorts with dress shoes, or skipping the socks entirely and scandalizing grandmothers across the island. Meanwhile, locals debate whether tie clips belong at the beach or if pink should only be worn on Wednesdays. The Bermuda short is both style and satire. A gentle wink beneath a blazer. A nod to tradition with calves exposed. It's the only garment where sweating is expected, dignity is preserved, and the phrase office casual takes on sunlit, linen-soaked meaning. And when worn properly, crease sharp, socks high, face unfazed, it doesn't just say you're from Bermuda. It says you understand the difference between ridiculous and revered, and choose to stand precisely in between. From above, Bermuda's rooftops resemble an immaculate pastry display, layered white tiers arranged with uncanny order, dazzling under the sun like an architectural tea party. But these pristine structures are not just decorative, they're functional alchemy. Every house on the island collects rain, filters it through limestone, and stores it like treasure beneath the foundations. This isn't an emergency system. It's the system. A policy of parched elegance. There is no central water supply here, only individual trust in gravity, stone, and centuries of habitual ingenuity. Some visitors find it strange. Locals find it obvious, like drinking from your own roof is the most natural thing in the world. The roofs are made from Bermuda limestone, shaped into steps not to look quaint, but to catch rain more efficiently. painted white to reflect heat, recoated every few years with ritualistic care. Children are taught the roof slope like others are taught street names. Adults whisper cleaning methods like folklore. And when it rains, you listen. Not because you're worried, but because your house is drinking. The first trickles tap the tiles like an eager guest. The heavier downpour becomes a kind of applause. And afterward, when the gutters sigh and the cistern settles, there's a silence that feels like hydration. Water here isn't just consumption. It's a relationship. And roofs aren't just architecture. They're etiquette. It's considered rude to waste water. It's frowned upon to ignore your catchment. And it's practically scandalous to let a tank go uncleaned. In Bermuda, your home doesn't just shelter you, it nourishes you. One quiet drop at a time. Tea in Bermuda is both revered and resisted. It arrives via British heritage, served in polished teapots with cucumber sandwiches and the occasional mispronounced scone. But the island has repurposed it, gently subverted it, folding in tropical flair like a mischievous breeze through lace curtains. Afternoon tea here often occurs under fans rather than fireplaces. The air smells less of Earl Grey and more of guava jam, coconut loaf, and the ever-present possibility of a thunderstorm. Finger sandwiches sit beside curried fish cakes. Clotted cream competes with paw-paw preserves. The napkins are still pressed, but someone's phone might be playing calypso quietly in their lap. At the Grand Dame hotels, like Hamilton Princess, you'll find tea served with proper tiers, savories on the bottom, sweets on the top, etiquette nestled between them like a sleeping cat. But just a few blocks away, in a pastel-walled cafe with ceiling fans and bamboo blinds, tea becomes an improvisation. Mango rooibos in a chipped mug, next to a buttered Johnny cake still warm from the griddle. Bermudians don't rush tea. They let it steep with island time. It's not unusual to stretch a pot across an entire afternoon, adding side conversations, spontaneous storytelling, and weather commentary between every pour. A well-paced tea might end with everyone unsure how many cups they had, but certain they feel lighter for it. And sometimes, the tea is just symbolic. A chance to gather, to reset the pace, to gossip kindly, to pretend, for half an hour, that colonial quirks and tropical mischief belong at the same table. Because in Bermuda, they do. Come Easter in Bermuda, the sky becomes a gallery. Kites don't merely fly, they debut like silk ships on invisible oceans. Angular, colorful, precise, and always a little smug. Some are so large they cast shadows over cricket fields. Others are so finely balanced they hover in one spot, taunting gravity. These aren't store-bought novelties. They're homemade masterpieces, constructed from tissue paper, sticks, glue, string, and a certain ancestral precision. Families guard their techniques. Grandparents train small hands to fold, crease, and bind. Children learn about symmetry before they know the word. But flying is only part of it. The real tradition is the build. Neighborhoods become temporary workshops. Porches gather scraps of bamboo and colored film. Conversations drift from politics to tail length. Someone always burns the stew while getting the tail weights just right. And then, of course, there's the food. Easter in Bermuda smells like crosswinds and spiced lamb. Fish cakes spill from Tupperware onto grassy picnic blankets. Hot cross buns compete with cassava pie for nostalgic dominance. Kite flying here is less sport, more ceremony. There are whispered rivalries over whose kite sings best. The hum of the tail in the wind is a badge of honor. Spectators squint skyward and murmur ratings like judges at a synchronized swimming event. Points for altitude. Bonus for stubbornness. But the best moment is always the pause. When the string tugs, the kite lifts, and a hush falls over the crowd, just long enough to believe that yes, the sky might actually remember your name. This is how Bermuda celebrates resurrection, with color, altitude, and communal glee. It's not about theology. It's about lift. You don't hear the gambes approach. You feel them, first in your chest, then in your feet, and finally in the part of your mind that once believed rhythm was optional. When the gambe dancers take to the streets, Bermuda doesn't simply watch, it vibrates. Clad in candy-colored costumes stitched with ancestral precision and masked like festive mystics, gambe dancers don't walk. They erupt. Feathers bob, mirrors flash, whips crack with ceremonial punctuation. The drummers behind them play with the controlled frenzy of a weather event, summoning beats that seem older than the soil beneath their shoes. Rooted in African, Caribbean, and British traditions, the gambes are Bermuda's human fireworks, each performance a mosaic of history, resistance, and sheer kinetic audacity. It's both sacred and cheeky. Every gesture hints at rebellion, every spin nods to survival. They appear suddenly, at parades, holidays, and random intersections. One moment, silence. The next, a pulse. Children squeal. Tourists scramble for their phones. Elders nod knowingly, as if to say, now you've seen the real Bermuda. The dances tell stories without words, myths, migrations, mockeries of authority. One routine might depict a king's downfall. Another, the island's resilience after storm. And between the steps, there's space for improvisation, a spin here, a jab there, a glance that says, yes, I see you, and yes, I'm still louder. To be in the presence of gambes is to surrender to spectacle. It's not just watching culture, it's being startled by it, celebrated by it, and occasionally drowned in it. And as quickly as they appear, they vanish, leaving behind echoes in your ribcage. Public transportation in Bermuda is less about punctuality and more about possibility. There is a bus. It has a route. Sometimes they meet. The schedules are posted, firmly, proudly, as if daring the day to contradict them. But the buses operate on their own quiet theology, a philosophy of arrival, a rhythm not so much based on minutes as on meteorology, conversation, and divine whim. You wait at a pink pole, shaded by palm trees and optimism. Others join you. No one speaks of time. Instead, they speak of sky. It smells like rain, someone says. Another nods and folds a newspaper, as if that seals it. Someone else mentions mangoes. You nod. You all wait. Then, without fanfare, a rumble. The bus arrives. Or doesn't. Sometimes it's the wrong one. Sometimes it stops for a nap. Sometimes the driver waves and says he'll be back in 5, which could mean anything from 2 minutes to a new fiscal quarter. On board, everything is pastel and practical. Vinyl seats. Slightly sticky windows. Stops come unannounced. Riders disembark mid-curve. It is less a transit system than a movie meditation, a slow progression toward wherever the bus happens to be going. If you're lucky or unlucky, you might catch the last bus home. It's usually just a rumor by then. A whisper passed along by strangers. It came 10 minutes ago, one says. No, it's due in 10, says another. Neither is right. Both are correct. So you wait, or walk, or decide right then to stay. Because Bermuda isn't a place where you arrive on schedule. It's where you discover schedules are dreams. And the dream, tonight, is that the bus might still come. In Bermuda, kindness is less a virtue and more a weather pattern. It moves quietly, predictably, and without the need for spectacle. You'll notice it in small gestures, a driver pausing to let you cross a street no one else is on, a stranger helping you carry your bag up a pastel-painted hill, a child waving from a moped with the assurance of royalty. There is no reward for these things, no grand declarations, just a gentle nod to shared presence. The island is small enough that generosity becomes not optional, but inevitable. The woman at the cafe remembers your order by your shoes. The bus driver knows your stop by your sigh. Ask for directions and you may receive not just instructions, but a brief autobiography and a casual escort. Ask for a restaurant recommendation and find yourself invited to someone's cousin's barbecue. Refuse it and they'll smile, but ask twice and someone will set a plate aside just in case. This kindness isn't cloying. It's matter of fact, woven into the limestone. The sort of hospitality that trusts you'll pay it forward, even if only by holding the door with a little more ceremony than usual. Some say the island's isolation forged this ethos. Others say it's the breeze, the shared dependency on weather and goodwill. But whatever the cause, the effect is unmistakable. In Bermuda, kindness isn't offered with a flourish. It's handed to you like a folded napkin, subtle, practical, and absolutely expected. As the sun melts into the horizon and the breeze carries the last hint of ginger across the verandas, Bermuda begins to fold itself inward, like a well-read book closing for the night. The pink sand cools. The mopeds quiet. The golf courses, the kites, the regattas of improbable ambition all settle into a hush that smells faintly of sea salt and starfruit. You might still hear the distant rhythm of a gombe drum, or catch the echo of a teacup gently clicking back into its saucer. But for the most part, the island has traded performance for stillness. The roofs, white and tiered like stoic wedding cakes, glisten in the moonlight, patiently collecting dew for tomorrow's routines. Somewhere, a couple debates whether their socks matched at dinner. A child, exhausted from flying a kite too seriously, dreams of flight paths and lemon pie. Even the reefs seem to rest, tucking their jagged outlines beneath the lull of the tide. This is how Bermuda whispers goodnight. Not with certainty, but with comfort. Not with silence, but with softness. And if you listen closely, you might just hear time itself exhale. Thank you for joining me on tonight's journey. I hope it brought you a little peace, a little wonder, and a little closer to rest. Until next time, sweet dreams.